Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review. You know, normally when you get to the fourth installment of a franchise, that's when things are starting to go downhill and are just like not as good as they were when the series began. Except for Mission Impossible, where you get the best installment in the fourth film with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I love this movie. This is the one I've been waiting for when doing these videos and rewatching these movies, is getting to this one. Because to me, this is the highlight of the series, and easily my favorite one in the whole series. I mean, I don't know, Fallout might change that, we'll have to see. But as it stands right now, with there only being 5 Mission Impossible movies out, this one is my favorite, and I love it. It takes all of the best elements from the previous movies, and does it even better, you know, with this one. It's also truer to the show, more so than the other films, you know, seeing that this one is really an ensemble movie. It's about a team. The previous movies were kind of like the Tom Cruise show and Friends. You know, this one is really about a team, and you get to know and like all of these characters in there. They're all well-developed characters. Because all the team members in the previous movies are all just kind of there. No one is going to remember Australian pilot guy from Mission Impossible 2, or even like the Maggie Q and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers characters from MI3. They're there just to move the plot along, really. But in this one, it's about the characters. It's about their mission and them accomplishing this. And everything else around it is so great. This movie was directed by Brad Bird, and this was his first live-action movie. This movie is amazing. It's visually great. The direction is stunning. Like, it's such a well-made movie and such a well-put-together movie. It was a very surprising one, because, like, I felt like when this movie was coming out, like, this was kind of like, I mean, Mission Impossible 3 came out in 2006, this was 2011, so there's a good gap in between there. It's kind of like, oh, another Mission Impossible movie, you know, Mission Impossible 4, well, what else could you really do? And then it comes out and all of a sudden it's great. You're like, oh, okay, this is what this franchise can be. So the plot of this movie begins with Ethan Hunt in a prison, and Benji, the Simon Pegg character who had a brief role in MI3, him and this other agent, Agent Carter, who are going to break him out because they need him for a mission. So they end up breaking him out in this wonderful sequence, this great prison break sequence that's funny and just like really well put together. It's just a fun sequence. It just sets the tone for this movie. Then after that, he finds out that he has to break into the Kremlin to steal these this information about these like nuclear launch codes. And there they end up being set up. The Kremlin gets blown up, gets destroyed, and IMF is blamed. So now the government has initiated Ghost Protocol, which disavows every IMF agent. But the secretary gives Ethan this secret mission to go hunt down the guys who did it, the guys who framed them, and stop them, with the help of his team of Benji and Carter, with a new character, the analysis named Brant. So they're on the way to find this rogue agent and stop him from using these nuclear launch codes to basically launch a nuclear warhead at America. You know, that little thing. It's kind of important. So what works most about this movie, like I said, is the characters and the character dynamics. Every character works off each other great. They all contribute to the team. Like, they all feel like essential parts of the team, whereas in the last movies they didn't a whole lot. This one, each character has a specific skill set, and it's put to use well throughout the film, you know? You got the newcomers with Paula Patton as Agent Carter, and she's fun, she's really good. And then you have Jeremy Renner as Brant, who I like a lot. I like Jeremy Renner. He's just a really good actor. He's really funny in this movie. That's the thing about this movie, that the humor really works in this one. And his character's really funny. He's like a former field agent turned analysis. And like, he has a lot of great moments where he's just kind of like second guessing the mission. Like, this isn't gonna work, you know? And the best moment at the end is during the climax where he has to jump into this vent right down to where this fan is, where they have this magnetic cart under there that's gonna catch him. And he's so nervous to do it. He just keeps procrastinating. He's like, okay, I'm gonna jump. And he starts, you know, loosening up. All right, gonna jump. You know, loosens up a little bit more, you know. Great moment, just wonderful characters.
Did you jump?
Should I not have jumped?
Because I jumped!
And this movie just has fun with it. There's some good gadgets in here, and that's the best thing about this movie, is that none of the gadgets work. They always fail. You know, I mentioned it in the MI3 review, that like the masks are always kind of like a plot convenience. These like super high-tech masks that basically turn you into that person, you know? And in this one, they're trying to make the mask, and the mask machine breaks. So they have to go in it on themselves and use makeup and all that kind of stuff. And I love that idea. You know, that's great. I even like earlier on in the movie where they're breaking into the Kremlin and they actually put Tom Cruise in makeup. He's not wearing a mask to be this other guy. He's in makeup. And I'm like, that's great. That's right out of the TV show. It's, you know, more clever and more creative than just like a mask. And that whole scene of them breaking into the Kremlin is great. With the projector that hides them basically, and when it starts malfunctioning and everything, like that whole sequence is awesome. And I love the middle half of the movie when they go to Dubai. And of course, I'm going to get to in a minute the sequence on the Burj Khalifa. But what I love about that sequence is that it feels like it was ripped right out of the TV show, where they trick the arms dealers and they're on a different floor than they think they are. You know, that's straight out of the TV show, just like the misdirection and luring them into a different spot and like pretending to be these characters while like two sequences are going on at the same time, where the arm dealers are talking to Paula Patton, who's in disguise, while Brandt and Hunt are talking to the lady where she has the information. And I thought that was just a cleverly done sequence and the most like ripped out of the TV show type of sequence in the entire series. It was great, but of course you have to talk about the iconic sequence in the entire movie, and that's Tom Cruise climbing the building from the outside, the tallest building in the world, which he did for real. No stunt doubles, nothing, and that sequence is incredible. Out of all the crazy Tom Cruise stunts in the series, that one is still the best, to me at least. Like, it was so well done, so much tension, like you're on the edge of your seat watching this, and it's because of the sense of realness is what really like drives it home. And seeing the scene in an IMAX theater was breathtaking. You know, it's one of the best like IMAX experiences I've ever had, was seeing that. Like, that scene is so well done, from the gloves he has that sticks to the wall that keep malfunctioning. You know, it's like, oh god, like every time like his hand slips, you just go, oh, no. Like, it's such a well done sequence, and it's so wonderful, it's so great. And where that is the standout sequence in the movie, there's still a bunch of other exciting sequences in this movie that are memorable. You have the car chase in the sandstorm, which is a great scene, so well done, so unique, something I've really seen before in a movie. So there's this big car chase going on, but in the middle of a sandstorm where you can't see in front of you and they can't see anything. It's really good, really suspenseful, really well done. Except the whole sequence of them breaking into the Kremlin is really good, really entertaining. The last action sequence inside the like car garage with like the moving like things, moving the cars and stuff. That sequence is a really cool like location, really interesting. But that's where some of the action gets a little kind of like over the top and ridiculous, with like the stunts of like Tom Cruise driving the car off and it like crashing on the ground, him just getting out like, That's where it kind of got a little like almost Fast and Furious-esque, with like physics kind of being thrown out the window, you know? So that sequence as itself isn't that great, but I like the setup to it and I like the location. Again, it's very unique. Really great like unique locations for action sequences in this movie. But that does lead to some of the issues. Like I mentioned, that scene having some issues. There are other problems with the movie. The villain of the film, played by Michael Nyqvist, which like he plays like this rogue agent, is really dull and really kind of bland and forgettable, which is kind of weird that the best movie in the series has the weakest villain. And it sucks too, because I like that actor. I like him a lot. He was the bad guy in John Wick, and he was great in that. But this one, it's not really his fault, it's just the character's kind of bland and kind of just there. I always kind of forget about him, to be honest, when I'm rethinking like about the series and like villains in the movie. I'm always like, who's the villain in that? Oh yeah. And it's also weird because he kind of comes off as just like this old guy, which makes it not that believable when he's fighting Tom Cruise at the end, which is even weirder because in John Wick, it's very believable when he's fighting Keanu Reeves, but something about it in this movie, like, I don't really buy it. The villain was the weak part of the movie, for sure. Honestly, it's my only real gripe with the movie. There's a few other little, flaws here and there, but the only real main problem with the movie is the villain just being really dull. The rest of it just comes together so well, and I feel like This one just does the Mission Impossible formula the best out of them all. Like I said, I love how it focuses on a team. You really care about this team. You know, it's not like the other movies where the teams are just there to help Tom Cruise along the way. I love that. I love the action sequences. They're some of the most memorable action sequences in recent time. You know, it's funny. The humor works really well. I love the new characters. I like that they brought back Benji, and I like that this movie really kind of starts the trend of these movies having continuity together. You know, instead of it just being like separate movies. Like the first 3 movies kind of play out like James Bond movies, where they're 3 separate movies that don't connect at all, except for the main character and Luther coming back. Except for them two, those movies are totally separate from like the settings, from even like the way the agency is like portrayed, where there's different secretaries in like each movie and stuff. But this one finally accepts characters. It's like, oh yeah, this is like our team, this is our world, this will continue in the next one and in the next one. And I feel like that benefited the series a whole lot more, because it makes you care a lot more going into like the next film, because you know these characters from the last one and you actually are more invested. So I love that idea. I love that they finally started to put continuity to these movies. You know, I think it's a really smart move on their part, and it just makes for like the best installment of the series. Like this is the one that I feel like anyone could watch and enjoy, even if you're not big on like spy movies. It's just that entertaining and that much fun. I am kind of bummed though that Luther doesn't play a part in the movie. He's not really in it at all, except for a quick cameo at the end. I really wish he was like a main character on the team. That would have been great, but you know, they fixed that problem with Rogue Nation, with making him a major part of the team, so that's okay. At least they got him in there. It would have been really weird if he just wasn't in the movie like at all. I really liked the way they handled the wife plotline. You know, because the whole core of the 3rd film was his relationship with his wife and him getting married. And then you go into this movie and she's like, oh no, I'm back doing missions and no mention of my wife. And I was like, oh, okay, they're just gonna forget about that? That's what I thought going in. But no, they address it and they make it like a really interesting kind of like subplot. Where he's in this prison and they're like, oh, why is he in there? Like, I don't know, it's like a secret. You know, and then you find out that Brandt was, spoiler by the way, if you like are planning to watch the movie, this is like major spoilers, but like you find out that Brandt was actually on a mission to protect Ethan and his wife ended up getting killed on Brandt's watch, and you know, so you find out the wife is dead, but then you find out at the end that she isn't, and they faked her death, and so she's kind of off living her life, and they're kind of separated, but they are still kind of together in a way, because there's that good moment at the end where Michelle Monaghan does have a cameo, and you see her, and they kind of exchange looks, and they smile, and it's a cute little moment, and then they're kind of off. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I like how they didn't just kind of throw it away or use like a throwaway line, like, oh, they broke up. Okay, move on. You think they're gonna, because that's what like Benji says at the beginning, but you find out there's more to it, and it's a lot more like cleverly handled. I thought that was really well done. I like that. So yeah, that's Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Definitely the standard for the series, at least in my opinion. I mean, I love Rogue Nation as well, but I still feel like Ghost Protocol kind of edges it out just by a bit. It's just such a fun, thrilling, entertaining movie with some amazing sequences, great characters, and it's just like an awesome film. I love it. So yeah, that concludes my look at the Mission Impossible series before Fallout comes out. And I know Rogue Nation is in the middle there, but I've already reviewed that a few years ago, back when that came out. So that review is already up if you want to watch it. And yeah, I love this series. It's one of my favorite franchises. It's just thoroughly entertaining through and through, even with its ups and downs. And I cannot wait for Fallout. So yeah, that's all I have to say for now. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.